敵の正体は
I wish I could read your
I rescue all that strange vehicle of it.
All right, well, that's our show. 2 hours of Akira slides.
Now that's a super
everyone.
The super cut kept going to the point where I was like, is this all we're doing today?
Yeah, I know, same.
I thought about trimming. I found it online, and then I added a few that I felt like were not on there. And
I like
I
all
want to see
the.
the.
Oh, sorry.
I want to
Jeff,
see
go
the
ahead.
super cut of the person going through and trying to research and find every single one of those clips.
Right.
The
I believe that would-
16-hour.
It'd be Danny just at the keyboard.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
have that patience, but I knew somebody else had already done it. So, all
I
right.
did like the 2 or 3 moments with horses because I feel like that's just not how horses work.
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Horsepower.
Also, that's terrible to do to your tires. Not a good thing to do.
Yeah. A lot of good ones though. More than I ever imagined could have been. But if that doesn't tell you what we're talking about today, and you didn't read the title of the stream, today we're gonna be talking about the movie Akira, with special guest Mike Rapin from the I Read Comic Books podcast. How are you, Mike? Welcome.
I'm doing great. I got my Dunkin' Donuts. I'm ready to talk about Akira. I forgot just how bonkers that movie is, and I'm just super excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me back.
Of course. I felt like this all kind of happened by, I think they call it Kismet, because there's something we're going to talk about. Mike wants to promote, and I'm very excited to talk about it. And I was like, hey, do you want to come on the show? And then I was like, oh, wait, Mike likes Akira. So I told these guys like 2 weeks ago, I was like, you guys want to talk about Akira? And everybody's like, yeah. So I was like, all right, it worked out.
And like the good podcast, we all watched it late last night.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, don't check Mike's letterbox to see what he logged in. I did go back and watch some of it this morning again, in Japanese to hear the sounds. But we'll get into all that. But first, before we talk about
Josh and I spent all week listening to Shakira because that's what we thought the podcast was about.
Very confused.
Yeah,
Very,
so we could talk a lot about Shakira, but
Yeah.
Akira, I don't know.
You know, let me go look for a Shakira supercut because I bet it'd be just as thrilling.
That would be actually 16 hours long, I think, if you
Yeah.
found one.
Right. Yeah.
But before we get into the movie, Mike, here, let me bring you up to
Me.
on the main stage.
Thank you.
You have a project that you've been working on for I Read Comic Books. So actually, I guess remind our audience who you are a little bit,
Sure.
and then tell us about what you're promoting here, because I'm very excited for very selfish reasons.
I was going to say, Daddy, you've got some very selfish reasons here, but that's okay. So I am Mike Rapin. I'm the host of the I Read Comic Books podcast. We are a 10-year long running podcast. We've been recording shows and releasing them weekly for 10 years. By my count, we've only missed 2 weeks in 10 years. I think that's a pretty cool record.
Yeah.
The only reason I know that is because as part of the big celebration for our 10-year anniversary episode that we did back in January, I went through and literally found every single episode of our show on all of the various feeds in the world to just get all the episode titles together and have a big discussion about it. But in order to celebrate 10 years, I figured we got to do more than just go live on Twitch and say, yay, we did 10 years. And in December, I was thinking about this quite a bit. Like, I was like, we got to do something. As a show, we never really do big celebrations and anniversaries, but for 10 years, we got to do something. And I had this thought in the shower. After I gathered all of these episode titles together, I was like, what if we reached out to like all of the various artists and people that we've had on the show, people we've talked to at cons, people that we just know that are really good artists, like our friend Danny here. And we said, hey, we've got all these episode titles. Would you like to illustrate one of them? You interpret it however you want. Weird titles like Skin Cape, or If King of the Hill was an anime, or Intention to Arouse. You know, we've got 24 different titles in this thing, 25 technically. I'll premiere that today on the show. It came together. A lot of people said yes. Majority of the people we reached out to said yes. And now we have a 28-page zine coming together that we put up on Kickstarter with 25 different illustrations by 20 different artists, 21 different artists. People like Box Brown from Andre Andre the Giant, and Tetris, the games people play. We've got Meredith McLaren, who's worked on things like Black Cloak, and It's All Greek was a recent book. Crumble is a book that she most recently put out. Malachi Ward, who worked on Black Hammer. Flynn Nichols, who's done all of the various like portraits that we do for IRCB. Brian McRae, who we've worked with in the past on A Better Batmobile. We've got a whole, like, honestly, murderer's row of comic book creators and artists in this thing. And I'm super duper proud of just what they've come up with. Claire Connolly is doing If King of the Hill was an anime. And I've seen the full page, and it is the funniest, one of the funniest in the book. We have so many talented, interesting, smart, funny people in this book that put together ideas that I never, ever would have imagined. Martin Morazzo just finished up his page and sent it over to me. Martin Morazzo also worked on Ice Cream Man, a bunch of other stuff. Fred C. Stressing has worked on the Rick and Morty comics. Jared Langham's my cousin, also a comic book artist. Kevo, who's worked on the series called Z-Class Tricks. Kyle Rose is the designer for the IRCB logos, and he did the design for the Totally Not a Cult zine. This zine that you're looking at right here, he's a fantastic artist as well. So we've got a ton of different people. If Danny just keeps scrolling, I'll tell you guys individual stories about every single person in this thing. But it's an incredible list of people. Danny's doing a page. Danny's page is If Cookie Monster was a Jedi, and I've seen it, and it is. I burst out laughing the second he said it to me. So like it's a really, really cool thing. So Totally Not a Cult, an art zine, or art anthology zine curated by IRCB. That's what the Kickstarter is. And we're putting it together. We're 80-something% funded as of right now. I think 85 as of this morning. So if you're interested in comics, if you're interested in just really cool art, if you just want to see something new from a creator that you maybe know or maybe you don't know, I really would ask you to go check this out because I think it's going to be great. And if you're feeling super extra and you want to get something really fun, we're also offering limited edition tape cassettes where you pick a page from the zine that you like, and I will literally copy the audio into a tape cassette and mail it to you with a custom little J jacket around the tape cassette container of that page from the zine. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm super excited to figure out the logistics of doing that, but we're offering that, and everybody who backs it also gets a copy of the zine archive of the 8 different zines that we did back in 2018 through 2021, I think. It's honestly, it's a killer deal, but still.
I think I have 2 illustrations in those old zines, if I remember correctly.
The very first fan art that we ever got, I think very first and only fan art that we ever got was by Danny, where I was talking about how I had gone to the Louvre and Danny drew me at the Louvre. It's very, very funny. And I think you did another page that off the top of my head, I cannot remember, but I know
think it was Nick as the what's the thing from Hellboy, the water creature.
Nick as Abe Sapien.
Abe Sapien, Abe Sapien.
yeah. So yeah, all that is all like I think it's a killer deal. It's, we're asking $12 for the zine, and we'll mail it out to you, and it's going to be really nice. We're working really great. We're working a lot right now, trying to get like the right paper and all that other stuff, and figure out how we can print it in the United States so we don't have to deal with the state of the world as much as possible. And but yeah, it's a really cool thing. I'm super proud of it, if only because I was determined to think that, we're never going to get past 50%. And here we are a week and a half in, and we're already at I guess less than a weekend. Jeez,
I want to say within the first day you were over like 50%, if I remember correctly, because
I think we were at like 65% day one too. Yeah. I spent all day at work trying to, I had to press the launch button, and then I had it open in a separate tab on a different window, and every 5 minutes I was just refreshing. I was very worried, but we're doing really well. But everybody's support would be great, and also I think this is an incredibly unique thing that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. It's very specific to us, but it's also just a lot of really interesting art from folks that you've heard of and folks you haven't heard of. So I'm super hyped if you can't tell, and I really hope you all can check out Totally Not a Cult. It's such a cool thing. I mean, and the title of the zine is naturally an episode title of our show, right? I had to go through the backlog, find one that would totally work. And I was talking with Kyle, who designed the cover, and he came up with this logo off of a couple of different titles. And I was like, oh, totally not a cult. That is the best one. That's really cool.
Now, my quick follow-up, because I know how the sausage gets made, but how do the episode titles come about? You want to tell people about that? Because I feel like it's a very interesting process.
Yeah, so episode titles for our show, sometimes, I mean, back in the day, it used to be just whatever I could come up with. Like, I would just come up with something kind of funny, or just like, I don't know, the title of the episode is now literally what we talked about. So we talked about depression and mental illness in comics. That's what the name of the title is, right? But after a long time, like my editor, Xander, who has been with us since the beginning, he is basically like, without me or without him, there is no show. Just like if without me, there would be no show, right? We are like equal partners in making sure that the show happens. And he edits the show, and as he goes through, he just picks out funny little phrases, or he responds to something that someone said that was kind of funny. So when you get episode titles like If King of the Hill Was an Anime or Skin Cape, that is just Xander finding something goofy that we said, pulling it out of context, and then he usually gives me like 3 to 10 titles every episode of things that he think could work, and then I just pick the best one or the one that I think works the best. So
I had a tough time picking, and I think I was one of the last people to pick, because I wanted everyone else to like have a crack at all the titles first.
Sure. Danny, we have 450 plus episode titles. I mean,
I understand, but
Danny wants everybody to get their chances.
Yeah.
He's very egalitarian.
The other thing was like, what am I gonna be able to draw that's gonna actually look good? I thought about doing like a multimedia thing where I think one of the titles was what is it? A pile of comics with googly eyes or something like that. Which was something I said on the show. So I was like, oh, that would be funny. So I was like, I'm gonna take a picture of my stack of comics and then draw like the googly eye. Like that was another idea that I had. But then, I'm a Star Wars boy. And I guess kind of a Sesame Street boy as well. Although my Sesame Street was in Spanish and it was a little different, but there's some crossover there, and I love cookies as well, so it all worked out.
I like your kind of spin-off Columbia House idea of the cassette tape of the podcast. Like, I think that you should go all in and just be like, that's how podcasts should work. So like, you should get mailed one episode of a podcast via cassette tape every month. Cancel any time, Yeah. But
hey, if we get enough people on Patreon, I'll make that happen. Honestly, that's the thing. I'll definitely do. There's one of the episode titles that I think is still relevant every single time we bring up pretty much anything about comics is our dependency on petroleum will never end, right? Like that is the constant thought in the back of my head. And I'm happy to contribute to it if it means that people will give us money on Patreon for tapes of episodes.
In the 20th anniversary, Mike's gonna print them in vinyl.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So because by then I guess that'll be the equivalent of a cassette tape, maybe again, and maybe it'll come back around. I don't know.
Yeah. No, we're gonna be doing old school CDRs. Actually, I'll just be sending everybody.
Oh man, yeah, like Sharpie handwritten.
Yeah. That's the
plan. With the really bad printed on sticker that you get that paper. Yeah.
I'll buy one of those things where you have to put the CD in and then you pull the lever down and you. Did you guys ever have one of those? Because I had one of those. Yeah,
I did. Those things are great.
We'll see.
Do you guys have any last questions for Mike about the zine or anything before we get into the main thing?
25th? You said you were gonna announce it.
The 25th?
You said
the last. Oh, it was
So when we launched the Kickstarter, we had 20 artists on board for 24 pages, and we kind of have like 4 pages kind of left for credits and stuff. And after a series of lever pulls and conversations, we do have a 21st artist who's coming on board, and it's Jesse Lonergan. Jesse Lonergan of Man's Best, of Hedra, plenty of other comics. Very excited to have Jesse on board. Jesse's working very hard on their page right now. I'm very excited. I'll just excuse me, as a special reveal because I'm on this podcast and you guys are so cool. Jesse picked the title "Inside All of Us is a Teen Girl." So I don't know what he's going to draw for that. I'm very excited. And again, the more abstract the title, the better the product ends up being, or page ends up being, as from what I've seen in this Kickstarter or all the pages that we've gotten. So very excited to see what Jesse's coming up with. And yeah, it's again, incredible list of creators that's going to be on this thing. Now I have to go update our Kickstarter page after this, but whatever. It's exclusive for now here on the Next Issue podcast.
Thank you.
That's amazing. If you want to hear more about this, and maybe even what would be really cool is that this happens live tomorrow. Mike and I are going on the IRCB Twitch for the live show for the month.
Yeah,
and wouldn't it be cool if we just got funded during the stream?
All I'm saying is, if you want to see a guy cry live on Twitch,
yeah, that's right,
give us a little money.
Look, I know Kevin Smith has the crying on the internet cornered, but sure, I think Mike, Mike's in New Jersey as well, so that's Kevin Smith territory. So it's like sort of an homage.
Yeah,
certainly.
I'll go out to his comic book shop if you make me go do it. I'll drive out there. It's honestly like 45 minutes from my house. I could go out to Asbury Park.
Red Bank? Is that
Yeah.
You should go to his movie theater.
Maybe.
I hear it's pretty cool.
I did just back it live on the air, but it didn't tip you over. I apologize.
Well, thank you. Regardless, support is support, and I appreciate it nonetheless.
Oh, I'm super hyped. This looks great.
And if you know me personally and you don't get this, I'm gonna go hunt you down.
At the end of this, Danny did request a list of all of the supporters at the end so that he can figure out who didn't. My hands are tied.
I'm gonna ask you, show me the zine, and then
that's great.
Well, great. Here, all right, get off the stage.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate talking about this. I hope everybody out there is interested in comics. We'll also check this zine out. But yeah, fingers crossed. We'll get to 100% very soon.
Hey, it's a huge accomplishment. Congrats.
And zines are cool regardless, whether they're about comics or anything else. Zines are awesome because it's like the people that make the zines are completely in control of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, Danny, I'm sorry. I got to keep talking about this because this reminded me of one other thing. So one of the other things we're going to do as part of the zine. So like, it's got this cool cover. It's totally not a cult. This big old blocky text on top. But what we're offering, or we're going to do, is basically we're going to get this printed without the title embedded on it, and we're going to get big old stickers so that I can slap them on the cover.
Nice.
And as part of the survey, if you get a physical zine, I'm also going to be like, hey, if you want, I'll just send you the sticker. You can put the sticker on yourself, so you can DIY the zine. Because I don't know, one of the close titles was going to be "I know nothing about stickers" or "Ask me anything about stickers" was one of the titles or something. That was going to be the title. So we've been running with this sticker motif very hard, even in the background, even though that's not the title of the zine. But I'm going to get these big, totally not a cult stickers printed out, and you can slap it on yourself if you want, or I'll do it for you. It's going to be very cool. Every zine is going to be unique. This is a collector's item. If I need to appeal to that crowd, this is a collector's item. It's going to be one of one. Totally. Anyways. Sorry.
What you're saying, Mike, is that when I get the physical copy, I will have your fingerprints on file.
I didn't think about that, but maybe I'll have to start wearing gloves.
Yeah.
See, my goal after we finish this is to go to a convention, comic book conventions across the country for the next decade, and get everybody who is in the zine to sign it on their page. That's the other piece. But so I'm offering that as an option for anybody who's in. Again, there's so many reasons to support this zine, and it's only $12. So just throwing that out there.
I guess that's how I'll get Mike to come to Texas finally and visit.
Exactly.
Cool.
We are very cool here in Texas, although it's hot as hell sometimes.
Yeah, weather notwithstanding.
Right.
Okay.
Let's see. Clay has a question. Clay's not here today, but are you making the zine old school or using a computer? So,
unfortunately, we are using a computer. Honestly, if I could get 20 artists in a room to draw their pages on paper for me so that I could do all of the work to put it together, I would love to do that. But I'm already financially pretty tapped on this thing, so that's about as far as I can. I can only ask for digital copies of this stuff. Sorry.
A lot of glue sticks.
Yeah. Clay, if you support it, I will physically put a copy together for you. How about that? I'll Xerox all the pages out, and then I will tape it together and stuff. So
you hear that, Clay? You're on the show, Clay, so you better. I better see you. I'm gonna ask when everybody gets it. We're gonna do a roll call on the show.
Oh boy.
Danny's just full of threats today. I love this. I don't see this side of Danny on my show.
Clay's in. Yeah. Well, this is different because I'm in charge, right? So
he's in charge.
When Danny runs the show, it's different.
Yeah. Otherwise, I go off on wild tangents about just random shit. He's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" That took up 25 minutes of the show, Josh.
That's right. Yeah. It's, gotta keep everybody in line. So speaking of, let's do our main show. And to introduce this, the segue that I love the most.
You know, my favorite thing about the movie is like it feels like a movie. It feels like a real like, you know, go to the theater film movie that, you know, you kind of the reason why you go to watch something on the big screen.
That's right. We're gonna do a movie review.
I'm still mad that an Oscar has not gone to Chris Pine's neck muscles in that clip. I feel like they're really doing a lot there.
Yeah. So, as I talked about before, we're gonna talk about Akira. So, I guess my first question before we get all into it, because we have notes and we'll go through and Mike, you listen to 70mm podcast, so like we definitely stole their format for this.
I love it
because it makes sense to talk about movies that way.
It's so good. They like Slim and those guys. They get it. They get the format. I love it.
But before we get into that, and I'll start with Jeff and we can go around. What is your history with Akira? Like, had you seen Akira before? You had to watch it for this?
I saw Akira like 25 years ago, something like that. I mean, I think it came out in. I had to look it up. It came out in 88. I think it came out in. So yeah, Akira. It's always one of those movies. It's like the Godfather of like in that kind of level of like it's people that are like you should watch Akira, and it's on college dorm room posters and stuff like that. And I finally broke down and watched it. It had to have been about 25 years.
What
ago.
A sacrifice!
I know.
I have to watch this cartoon. Oh no!
Yeah, well, my life is so tough. So when Danny was like, "We're watching Akira," I was like, "Oh, I've seen that movie before." I remember nothing about it except for the movie poster. And in our Discord, I was like, "It's like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right?" Because it's just about a bike. So watching it again, I was. It's not like Pee-wee's Big Adventure at all.
It does have a bike though.
It does have a bike though. Yeah.
I'm still impressed with my coming up with the mashup called Takira.
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry, I've been giggling about that since I said it like a day. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Josh, what is your history with Akira?
Yeah, it's funny. As I was rewatching it, it was coming back to me because I was like, I know I've seen this. And kind of like Jeff, I didn't remember a lot of it, but there were moments that just stuck in my mind, even from that first viewing. So the thing I remember most is, I'm of the age where anime and manga were kind of just entering the US when I was a teenager. So I didn't grow up with all of it, but Akira was the one thing that everybody was like, if you want to get into anime and manga, go watch Akira. So I don't think I saw it until I think I bought a VHS copy of it probably sometime in college. So probably about like 97. And watched it just one night, and I know it blew me away, but then I just went to sleep and woke up the next day and was kind of like, what the fuck was that? But
and like back in 97, like if you were to go to look for Akira in the store, it'd be like one of two animes at the very bottom left corner shelf, kind of in the dark area, some cobwebs up there.
Yeah.
It might be in the back room just because they got it mixed up with some of the other animated stuff that had to be in the back room.
It's like right next to the curtain.
The curtain. Yeah, exactly.
Akira, and then next to it is a copy of Heavy Metal 2000, right? That's it. Like,
exactly. They're like, these are the adult animated films, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, the sexy ones? No.
No.
Yeah. Get out of here, you weirdo.
Now, Mike, you have a little bit of a deeper history with Akira. Go ahead and tell us about it.
Yeah, so I saw Akira probably sometime in college. Like I think it was probably 2008, 2009, 2010, something like that. Um, and I remember watching it, and I remember being like, "Wow, this movie is weird." Right? Because at the time, I really wasn't into like any anime or manga, with the exception of like Bleach was cool and Dragon Ball was cool, but I didn't really like. I didn't even really watch the anime. I was mostly just like into the mangas for a little bit, and then I dropped off. But I hadn't watched it. But I knew that it was like this thing, this masterpiece, right? Everybody always talked about it, and there's no real getting around it as far as I'm concerned. And so I'd seen some other animated movies, and then seen all these references to Akira and stuff, and I'm just being like, I don't really remember much of that movie. And then at some point, I got very, very excited and saw all of the like big Kodansha collected volumes of Akira. Like I'm sure you've seen all of them. I could probably run and get them. They're like on the other side of my computer, but I bought all of them. I was like, I gotta have these. This is something about this. I gotta do this. Like I was really into like reading any manga series that was not 1,000 chapters of One Piece, and so I was like, anything is possible. Like, I could read anything after I've gotten caught up on One Piece, right? And so I bought it and I sat on it for a little bit, and then finally I was like, I gotta read this. And, they're big books, right? They're 200, 300, 400, 500 page books, depending on the volume. And I read through all of it. And then I watched the movie first, and then I read through all of it. I was shocked by how little of the story is in the movie and in the manga. And then I haven't watched the movie since. So rewatching it, I was like, oh man, like it was like not only remembering the film, but also thinking about all the implications from the larger story of the manga. So like I feel like I have this larger view on Akira in general, but I still love the movie. Like I'm still stunned by that opening 10 minutes, like action sequence. The music kicks in, cityscapes. Like it's still just a stunning piece of art. So like I've got a lot of really positive thoughts in general about it. I guess that's the long and short of it.
How many volumes is the manga?
It's just 6. Right. Really? But like if you're looking at the volumes, they go from like standard size of like 350, 350, 350. And then it starts to balloon to like 450, 400, 600. Right. Like the last 3 volumes are huge.
Okay.
And it's funny because like the Akira movie only really covers like the first volume and a half, maybe 2 volumes worth of the story. Because there's so much more, and I'll get into it later. But like, yeah, it's only a 6-volume series. Honestly, you could read it in like a day or 2 of sittings. It's not a super dense book, and honestly, it reads like a dream. I mean, the guy who worked on, I can't remember what his name is. He just an incredible artist. It's one of those books where like you read 100 pages and you go, what happened? You realize everything happened, and it felt like nothing, right? Like there was no wonkiness, nothing slow about it. It's fantastic. It's honestly a very fantastic read, but it's big. It's a big series.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. I had only seen it once before this, and going back into it, like I remember the big. There's a few big moments in this film, but there's a lot of subtlety that I kind of caught more on this second one, and I also caught a lot more like, oh, this is some weird shit.
So you don't say, Danny.
We'll get into that, but let me start with a quick synopsis for anybody that's not familiar. And also, we're gonna spoil this movie, so if you haven't seen Akira, what are you doing? Leave us a like, leave us a comment, go check out the Kickstarter and back it, and then go watch the movie. In a couple of years, I'm sure they'll do like a 40-year re-release in theaters, hopefully, and that should be fun. Man. Oh, sorry, I just thought about 40. Anyways, set in the dystopian future of 2019, so just a few years ago.
Nothing at all happened the year after that. Sorry.
Yeah, nothing weird happened. But in Neo Tokyo, Akira follows Kaneda, the leader of a biker gang, and his friend Tetsuo, who develops uncontrollable psychic abilities after an encounter with a government experiment. As Tetsuo's powers spiral out of control, the city teeters on the edge of chaos with secret military projects, anti-government protests, a mysterious entity known as Akira at the center of it all. So if you're not familiar with this, I do have something that will probably, like an abridged version of this movie. It'll take like 40 seconds or so to watch. So let's check it out.
Tetsuo! 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 Kaneda! Tetsuo! Kaneda! Tetsuo! Kaneda! Kani! Tetsuo! Kaneda! 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 Tetsuo! 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 Kaneda! Tetsuo! Kaneda! 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 Tetsuo! Kaneda! Tetsuo! Kaneda! Tetsuo! Tetsuo! Kaneda! Tetsuo! Tetsuo! Kaneda! Tetsuo! Tetsuo! Kaneda! Tetsuo! 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 Tetsuo!
Well, there you go. That's Akira.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
This movie is about Canada, right?
Yeah, the country.
The country, Canadian tariffs.
That's
Weirdly
That was-
relevant.
I was looking for whenever Akira is brought up, especially like on the IRCB Discord, which anybody can go join. Like I'll always put the like a GIF or just in all caps Canada. Like, but I didn't realize how much more Tetsuo's name is said
Yeah.
throughout the film.
Yeah.
So that was real. When I found that video, I was like, oh, this is I have to bring this in. But that'll kick us off. And
But
then
I
we'll
do-
go through.
I
What's
do-
that?
I was gonna say I do want to, considering the names, I do want to frame the fact that, because I remember when I saw this originally, again, we're talking of a time it was VHS tape, no subtitles,
No
right?
electricity.
I'm pretty no electricity. I walked up the hill twice in the snow, but I'm pretty sure I watched the dub, but I was convinced his name was spelled like the country. And so it was not until much later when I see like it written down, like, oh, I was wrong. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, very funny. So let's go through our notes, and Mike, we'll just start with you as our guest. What is your first thing here? Because I want more context.
Yeah, so I wrote this in the notes, if only because there's a lot to be said about it. I think is I wrote the baby, which at the end of this movie, we get to this just a scene that I think is the origins for, I think, a lot of people in the current generation of comic book writing that are doing horror and want to do something big and bombastic, right? Like there's this ever-flowing infinite explosion of energy. They talk earlier in the movie, Key says, or something around the lines of like, imagine if an amoeba had the ability, like could live the life of like a human, right? Like what would it do? And we get this moment later in the film as Tetsuo is just like exploding with something, like his body is just growing at an exponential rate, and it starts to malform and change into this blob. And like the thing that struck me most about is not only was it like an impressive thing to witness, because it does just kind of shock you as to what you're seeing, right? As it's just constantly changing. We get this huge baby face that kind of like comes up and it's puffy and it's covered in weird squiggles and stuff. But the fact that all of that was drawn by hand is incredible. And not to say that it's necessarily any easier on computer animation, but I do think that there is like an undo button,
Right, yeah.
Whereas drawing this on paper, like the amount of planning, the amount of direction that you must have had to try to express this thing at 24 frames a second is just astounding to me. I mean, there's so many moments in this movie where there's action and there's things that I don't even understand how they did with the computer like abilities that they had at the time, let alone just like the animation techniques that were available, like the trailing lights of the bikes as they're riding. Is that like not the coolest thing you've ever seen?
It's iconic.
And so like the reason I mentioned this scene with the baby is because that it is a nonstop cacophony of action and movement. There is very little on the screen that is not moving for about like 8 minutes straight. I didn't time it exactly, but I find that to be such like an impressive feat of animation, and why this will always be probably one of the most interesting, if not masterful, pieces of animation that's ever existed. And I know that there are probably other people out there who could scream and yell at me about other movies, but like for me, Akira is just an impressive feat from start to finish with just all the crazy stuff that happens in it. Like, and I haven't even talked about like the living stuffed animals and like the weird milk scene. I mean, like there's so many moments in this where we get these things that are just bonkers. And then if you flash forward 20, 30 years, 40 years, right? And you look at present day movies that are doing the same level of like mature animation that have like these crazy mind-blowing things, you can see it all start to trace back to movies like Akira and probably whatever inspired Akira, like from an animation and writing standpoint. So like, I don't know, this movie is just a true masterpiece of animation for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Speaking
same.
of homages, Clay mentions that South Park did their Akira homage with the Trapper Keeper episode as it was starting to engulf everyone. So if you haven't seen that Trapper Keeper episode,
Yeah.
go check it out.
Yeah, I want to like just second everything that you said, Mike, because it is such a stunning piece of traditional animation, and even to the point where like I was about 2/3 of the way through the movie, so I don't even think I'd really gotten to the part that you're describing, and I was just constantly like, man, I am so sad we don't do this anymore. You know, weirdly, it's the moment right when Tetsuo meets back up with his friends and he's having his first kind of like psychic attack. And there is a shot of him repeated multiple times. And I just paused it and I was like, the fuck did they do this? Like, I was like,
yeah.
I'm imagining like separate cells, but they would have had to paint them in certain ways to layer them. And I was just like, how did they do that? Like, it's really impressive. And yeah, it's such a beautifully made film.
Yeah. Yeah, that moment, it was really impressive to me as well, because there's a point where Tetsuo was outside, he's talking to his friends, and then they cut into the truck where there are monitors, and we're seeing almost the same moment, but like animated through the lens of a TV, but slightly skewed. And I'm like,
yeah,
like what's going through your mind? You don't have to go that hard just to show us like a monitor, right? It's so impressive. And, you know, we take a lot of that stuff for granted because we see it all on film, and it's very easy to just like re-angle a camera and all that other stuff. So the fact like that it is drawn by hand is such an impressive feat.
Yeah, for sure. This is I'm sure there's 1,000 videos out there and behind the scenes stuff about this, but just the hand-drawn animation aspect of it is what's really mind-blowing, because it was thousands of people working on this probably, right? So well, maybe not thousands, but yeah, it's incredible. So many pencils gave up their lives to bring those Akira. So,
yeah, and painters, yeah, all of the above. So,
all right, Josh, what's your first point on here?
So yeah, I had a point very similar to Mike's, but I will say this: I had totally and I think it's because my brain just blocked it out. I had forgotten how much body horror is in this. And it is specifically, I don't know why this is the thing that bugs me the most. It's the fingers having fingers that just really gets me. Like, as soon as his body starts to expand, you get that little like glob that like hits the ledge. And it's like a big finger and then little fingers coming off. And I was just like, I got to walk away for a minute. That is deeply disturbing. Yeah, it's I think it's really impressive how the film just like that body horror kind of comes out of nowhere, right? Like you think you know what he's going through and then it just starts erupting. And like you said, Mike, and I didn't even realize this until you said it, it's kind of nonstop for like a really long chunk of time. Yeah, the body horror. I was really not prepared for the body horror.
Yeah, the hand reaches out to the ledge right behind the children, and it's got the little fingers, and each of the little fingers are like wrapped around the children's head. I was like, no, I don't remember this. Not like
I know, it's so disturbing. It's so disturbing.
And they all had little fingernails. It's so weird.
Josh, how do you feel about that scene in Doctor Strange where he's tripping on whatever, and then it's all the little hands, and then each hand has a little hand?
Yeah. No, I'm glad you reminded me about that. I think I had the same reaction when that happened there as well. It's just, I don't know. There's something about appendages having appendages that.
So we're definitely going to get Josh those little finger covers.
That's too much, I think. But I do appreciate, and I will say I'm not a big body horror person, hence why I have not watched The Substance. and why I don't really get into David Cronenberg films.
Yeah.
But when it's animated, I feel like it's not as bad. Like I feel like I can power through it because it is well, I guess it also depends on the type of animation, especially like when it's animated like this, like in this style. Like if it was CG animated, maybe it might be a little bit worse, or I don't know. That would probably
If it looked like a Pixar movie.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if a Pixar mom had a bunch of hands coming.
Oh God. Or I mean, like it reminds me of the toys in Toy Story that Sid kind of put back together, right?
Yeah.
What's his face?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The little spider monster.
The Thing.
Oh
His
yeah.
body horse,
I
right?
love The Thing, man. No, that's
I
great.
do too. Yeah.
We all know Clay loves The Thing 2011.
Oh wow.
That's what he's talking about.
We're gonna be like almost done with the show, and Danny's doorbell is gonna ring. It's just Clay smacking him in the face.
You know,
I mean, I heard Clay, and I'm wearing headphones, and I don't know where Clay lives, but I heard him from where I'm sitting.
I will say, I think you might be the closest to him location-wise, Jeff. Not to dox anyone, but I did hear, and this is a bad tangent, but I heard that 2011 movie is actually a prequel to the original Thing, not a remake, which kind of makes me. I hear it's bad, but it makes me want to watch it because I'm like, what do you mean? What's going on?
What do you mean?
How do you prequelize this? I guess I also spoiled the ending, or the twist ending for that other. But I'm like, did the same thing happen in another place, and then like, the Thing moved on? So
what makes it bad is it's just 3 hours where in the first few seconds the ship lands on the ice, and then you're just staring at snow for like 2 hours and 58 minutes. So
yeah.
Yes. The most boring prequel of all.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's just the thing stuck on ice for like 2 hours, and then like somebody finally digs it out.
And you paid $14 at AMC to go see it.
Yeah, exactly. And you got the special popcorn bucket, which weirdly is also just a hill of ice. So,
they could have done some. Oh, I think popcorn bucket would be pretty gnarly. Like it had to be the stomach of that dude when it opens, right?
Yeah.
I feel.
Oh no! Even better, the head.
The head.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh God.
But it would also have like a bunch of stuff. Like it'd be the most inconvenient popcorn bucket because it would be like 10 feet tall in the theater, and like you can't see around it. You'd have to like carry it around. And it would like.
Let's save it for a Thing episode, maybe later in the fall. Jeff, why don't you get us back on track with your big first note? Because I love that note.
Yeah, what is this movie? That is what is this movie? Like I said, it'd been forever since I've seen Akira. I didn't remember much about it, but I was like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll good excuse to go revisit an old friend that I haven't talked to in 25 years, and then I remember why I haven't talked to them in 25 years because this movie's weird. I just happen to be reading Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud right now. And he's getting into like the differences between Western and Eastern comics and stuff like that. So I just got to the part where he's talking about like in manga, there's a lot of non sequitur like stuff where they kind of like throw things at you, and then eventually kind of like maybe weaves together. So I haven't like literally just read that like 2 days ago or whatever, and then I start watching this movie, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, but I'm gonna sit with it because Scott McCloud tells me to sit with it. And then you get through, you're kind of like, okay. I totally agree with Mike. The animation is beautiful. I mean, we obviously don't see that anymore. Knowing that it's hand drawn because there just wasn't computer animation back then just blows me away. Kind of early because even Disney Beauty and the Beast wouldn't come out until like or whatever their first computers.
Even the computers were hand cranked back then, so like,
you still had to like.
Well, they had used it in The Great Mouse Detective in the Clock Tower, which I want to say is 86, 87, around there.
And it took them $2.3 billion to do
it. Probably did, yeah.
The other thing I really noticed about this movie was like the sound design. Like they played a lot with like just completely dropping the sound, letting you be in the moment, and then coming back and hitting you with it. Which I think is just, again, that's something you don't see a whole lot of. You don't see movies are just go, 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 go. They don't give you time to breathe. And this one definitely was just like, it let the art do the talking for the movie, kind of sort of, no matter how disgusting that art is.
Like anytime the kids moved around, like the little blue skinned kids. Like, I thought it was really interesting that they made them so quiet or silent, right? Especially in the end of the movie, like when one of the kids flies down and it is just dead silent as he's moving towards Akira, like the little bottles of Akira. Like it's, I don't know. I think the first time I saw this, I was like, what, did the audio drop out? Like I was confused.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Upon watching it now, I realized that there is like a serious intention to the silence that like, if there had been any noise, it would have made the moment worse, right? And I like that. I really, really appreciate that, because there is a reverence, like a literal pregnant pause in the moment of those when they do that to like express like you shouldn't be distracted by anything else. It is the visuals here that you need to be paying attention to, and it's so smart. It's so well done.
And
I will say, sorry,
Jeff.
Josh. I will say there's one of the little kids that is drawn just like little Louis from Louis Anderson's cartoon, and that did distract me because I just wanted to hear Louis Anderson, little Louis Anderson.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I had also forgotten how absolutely stunning and like there's a term for this, I'm blanking on it. But from a story perspective, how important the score is.
Sure.
The score is amazing. And the thing I've kind of forgotten about is, and I keep looking up when Ghost in the Shell came out, because I feel like Ghost in the Shell, which I have a lot more history with, both the movie and the later series, really takes a lot of its cues from Akira. I feel like the film structure is very similar. The score in Ghost in the Shell is also like it pulls from kind of like traditional Japanese music, as does Akira. Why the hell is the Akira score not available? This blows my mind. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Very interesting. I didn't know that. That's
like,
weird.
I'm gonna keep looking.
I wonder if there's maybe just not, and this kind of goes to one of my points, and I'll use this as a segue. The amount of restraint that it takes for the movie filmmaker to leave, like, have those silent moments like you guys were talking about, it really brings in contrast. One of my favorite things was that Tetsuo had a theme. I just put Akira song because I don't know, like Tetsuo had a theme of a couple, like maybe 2 or 3 times only, when he's kind of powering up and then his theme just hits behind them, and like it just really, it resonates and it highlights how important this moment is, because he's like gaining those powers, right? And I'll just combine 2 of my points together, because it plays during the scene where Tetsuo is fighting the children the first time, when he discovers that he has the powers. Like, they just gave him this nightmare, right? And they've been messing with him, I guess. And the stuffed animals Mike mentioned earlier, they were in his dreams, and then he finally goes back and he finds them in that kind of like playroom. And then the little girl's hidden in her bubble, and the little Anderson boy is in his chair. And then the little boy that gave him his powers, I guess, originally, like they just start having this fight, and they're like, don't do this, because we are going to destroy like they know how bad it can get. And also that Tetsuo might end up killing himself because he doesn't have control of these powers. So that's when the movie to me like took a turn, because at first it's just like, oh, this cool bike gang and this whole government thing, like, like fighting fascism, and the people are not going to take it, and there's this secret military police and government corruption. But then it tells you like that's not what this movie's. I mean, that's partly what this movie's about, but that's not what this movie's about. This movie is about this weird shit that we're about to get into, and that's kind of the turning point, right? So I love that, and that all was highlighted by the Akira song, like, well, that's the theme, Tetsuo's theme, I guess. So yeah, those are just kind of 2 things that I wanted to bring up. But it was crazy how you just so masterfully put that together, and then and that's only like, we're not even, I think that's like an hour into the film, and I'm like, what are we gonna do for the rest of the
right.
We still have an hour to go.
Yeah, that's why when I posted in our chat, I was watching it and I paused it at the 40-minute mark, thinking I was at least halfway through. And I was like, holy crap, how much more of this movie is there? Not in a bad way, not that it felt long. I was just like, so much has happened.
So, all right, Mike, let's go back to you.
Sure. We touched on it a little bit already, but I think that the thing that I'm still just flabbergasted by, and I think this is because I've seen some behind the scenes videos about Akira and like the making of it. There's a couple like short videos I think on YouTube that you can watch about like how they made some of the backgrounds for this movie. And that's the thing that like shocks me is like all the cityscapes are like some of the most beautiful pieces of art that imply a density of people that I think is hard to fathom, right? Like I've been to Tokyo before. I've been to Osaka. I've seen kind of like how the metropolis of like the world in Japan kind of like lives on top of itself, and just how unbelievably packed in to the city. I think just the overall like Tokyo is, and just like how they stack everything on top of itself and how accessible it is. And I think what you see in this Neo Tokyo in 2019 is like an even more intense, dense version of that, right? Like all of the cities and the city scapes that we see in the buildings are like these huge monuments that have these little tiny lines. And if you think about it, each of those little tiny white lines is like a 10-foot floor, right? So like when you start to really fathom that, it's impressive that I guess the art team who worked on the background really wanted to impress to you like how much more developed Tokyo had become from when this movie was made back in 1988. And I just love the look of it. Like that scene when Tetsuo really starts to come into his powers and he flies out the window and he's on the outside flying around. He's like, I can do this now. And we get like a small shot of him kind of bursting through this window in this huge building that he's been on the like 1,000th floor of or whatever. We don't really know. I just like the fact that that's all painted. It's all handcrafted. Like I saw behind the scenes of someone just like adding the little dots that are supposed to be the lights on buildings and stuff. And I'm just like, one, it's beautiful. And two, I love just what it implies. Like I know I'm repeating myself here. I really, really can't express how cool that all looks to me. Like I was just watching in the backgrounds in half of the scenes as they were like racing down like the different boulevards. And there's just the background is moving in this parallax effect as through them. And you could see just the buildings kind of shifting off in the distance. So cool. I just impressed by all of that. Like the backgrounds in this movie are just incredible.
Can you imagine you finally get your big break into animation and like, yeah, you're the dot guy. We're gonna have you. You see all these little windows? They need light.
Are you disrespecting background artists right now? Because that is the lifeblood of the animation world, as far as I'm concerned. Imagine a good animated show without good backgrounds. You
have to earn your keep.
Yeah, you start as the window guy and you work your way up.
Right.
Work your way up the buildings.
Some people just want to paint, and you know what you can't do when your animation is not painting. Animation is a lot of individual drawings, and some people just want to draw a cool background.
There are people that do the little I guess I don't even know what they are, but like you kind of like put the little dots in the little.
Yeah, I was gonna say you get a stipple artist. You get a stipple circling, and then you just like,
or you just get a toothbrush and you like run your finger over it and it makes that little like
right.
Oh yeah. Dotted All right, Bob Ross, calm down over there.
I think that's how you get Jackson Pollock in there, and it's just splatter paint all over.
I do find I love your point, Mike, and I do find it interesting when we think about it, like the state of animation today, because just like this week or last week, news came out that Disney canceled their Princess and the Frog sequel. I think which was going to be their return to hand-drawn animation, since that was famously the last traditional animated film they made. I don't know. It's just sad that this is almost an art form that seems to be dying. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like what's funny though is that like the only reason I'm so protective of background artists is because I do happen to know like two of them. I've known people that have worked as background artists on animated shows today, and they do a lot of their work on the computer still, but it is still like an important thing. And I think while like things have changed, like that detail, the level of detail is heavily dependent on how free the production company is with their creatives, right? If they let the creatives work, you usually end up with some stupendous art. It takes more time, right? If you look at something like Scavenger's Reign on HBO, or if you look at Common Side Effects on Adult Swim right now. Like those guys are flexing on us, and that's because the production companies are letting them do a little bit of work. Now HBO canceled Scavenger's Reign, but that's because HBO doesn't believe in any of its properties at all. Adult Swim though does believe in their stuff, especially when it's weird. So like I know that we're lamenting like the death of traditional animated drawing, but I do think that like the work ethic and the interest is still there. It's just like it is a cost benefit analysis thing, right? Because it does cost significantly more money to make traditionally animated stuff. But I think some people are still doing it, right? Like if you look at the Cuphead game that came out, like all traditional animation, like there's still like appetite for it. It's just a matter of like finding the right folks who are willing to put in the money to support. Yeah. Okay. So so I don't know. I think it's so funky because it always comes back down to like money. But the people want this. That the people do appreciate this, and they can tell the difference when the passion in the craft is there. So, Anyway, sorry to get on a soapbox here.
No, I'm 100%.
We got Clay in the chat saying the quiet part out loud. Disney waited until February to cancel that sequel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. You call him Clay. You call him out of the bullshit. All right. Whose turn is it? I think
it was just me. So Josh, I think. Yeah.
Josh.
Oh, I think one of the things. So I got done with the film, and look, I'm not gonna disagree here. It is a masterpiece, but I feel like so many people talk about it is a masterpiece, both in terms of the story that it tells, and I agree. One of the things that really stuck out with me is you get to the end of the film, and I don't know, for me at least, I was like, this film is amazing because it's not just complex characters, it's a complex situation. And there's no clear protagonist or antagonist, right? I mean, hell, within the last fight scene, you go from like, this is the protagonist and antagonist to kind of it flips around. And you're like, I think it places the viewer in a really interesting position as an audience member, which is there's no clear person to root for because everything happening is bigger than almost all the characters in the film. And I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I love the use of flashbacks to really make Tetsuo and the kids very human. So you kind of understand, yes, they have these abilities that go far beyond like what we can comprehend. Again, that amoeba with like a human sense, I don't know. I think that's also enormously important about the film is the way that it kind of handles that. So,
and the flashbacks highlight too, like if you're just kind of interested in the more sci-fi stuff, like the kids, they look like normal kids before all their experiments and then their powers, and like it's probably all the use of their powers that led them to look the way they do afterwards. Because I love that scene when they're like in the computer and then one of them blows it up, and they're all just kind of having a good time, and you see like this, you see Akira like smiling at them, right? And then right before that we had just seen little Kaneda and little Tetsu, like maybe kind of their first interaction as friends. So like these people have been through a lot. So like it's like who's in the wrong here? Well, I mean obviously the government, but
right.
That's really I love that they just kind of introduced that government official guy that's leaving with all the money, just so that we would just to like really make it clear that the government is fascist and we are against them, and they don't care about you and they only care about their own interests.
Right.
Which kind of leads us to Jeff's next point. So if you want to go into that, Jeff.
Yeah, I love how this movie predicts the world state we live in now. This is what I've noticed about a lot of media out there, and it's kind of fun to sit back and realize that the creatives have been giving us these little like, hey, be careful morality tales for decades now through movies and media and like centuries, honestly, books and whatnot. And we still just kind of keep walking into the same trap as a society. But yeah, it's fun to see like, oh, this came out in 1988. There's riots in the streets. there's a fascist policed force, government officials are corrupt, and then people have psychic powers. I don't know if that's happened yet, but we did have the weird orbs and drones last year, so nobody's yet to explain those things. So it's fun to kind of live in this world, and then your escapism is the same world. Yeah, it's interesting time. I don't really have anything there. It's just like
listen, your
can't get away from it.
It's very scary to me, Jeff.
Yeah.
Gosh, keep your politics out of my movies, Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. God, this is retroactively woke.
We do need a list of media that was created as fiction that we now have to move over to the documentary or nonfiction shelf, right? So
Back to the Future 2.
It's like that graph of Simpsons episodes that predicted the future, right? Like it exists, like given over so many years from all the way back in the 80s to now. Like you can find episodes that predicted things that actually came to pass.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
As if our local librarians did not have enough to deal with, now they have to move all this fiction stuff into the nonfiction stuff, and vice versa. So like
Handmaid's Tale.
It should just be a new like section called a "We Told You So."
Yeah,
that's what it should be.
It's not even that. It's just like somebody saying like, "Mm-hmm, that's right."
Yeah, it's just a picture of a lady just kind of like
just a picture like, "Mm-hmm."
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll go into my last point since I kind of combine the two. Do I even understand this movie? Was this all about the bike? Like, did Tetsuo just want the bike and like led him down this really dark? What is this movie about? What really? I feel like in the big strokes, I kind of know what happened, but did I understand? Even though this is my second time watching this movie, and I did a little bit of research to look to like to see what it is like. This film it's very dense in its content and the way that it presents. It throws a lot at you. So like, this is definitely, we were talking about this last week. I think this is entertainment. This is not content. This is not something you just put in the background and like, yeah, I'm gonna just let the pretty light. I guess you could just have the pretty lights wash over you, but then you're not gonna get it.
You're allowed to do anything, but I wouldn't recommend that with Akira.
Yeah, true.
It's pretty intense. So
I think Danny's point was that he decided that it is Pee-wee's Big Adventure because it is about a boy and his bike,
right?
And Large Marge is the body horror from Pee-wee.
Eyes bug out. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, listen, and we saw at the beginning of the show, like, it's a cool bike, and obviously it's what most people got from the movie, right? Like,
yeah.
Okay, I have
there's a biker gang in Pee-wee too. I just want to put that out too.
I have a hot take that is gonna earn me the ire of I think everybody else on this panel and every
Akira
fan in the world. I know we all love Canada's bike. I have a hard time saying it that way. Anyway, I much prefer the green and orange bike at the very end that his friend has. I think it's a much much better looking bike. Just me. Maybe it's the colors. I don't know, but I love that bike more.
It doesn't even have any stickers on it.
There's no
we
stickers
just talked about the importance of
slap some on. Look, we already. Mike's gonna send us stickers with the zine. I'm gonna slap them on the bike.
You're gonna put them on your green and orange bike. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
No. I mean,
listen, like realistically, you're gonna find the green and orange bike in real life, right? You could go to Japan, you could go to Korea, you could go somewhere, you could get them, right? The red bike, that's a specialty bike. That's a bike that you have to have someone make for you, And I think honestly, to an extent, I understand why I wouldn't even want the red bike, is because it feels impractical. Like when Tetsuo tries to drive it, he's like, "Oh man, I shouldn't have shifted under 5,000 RPM." I'm like, what? If I had to think about that while I was riding in my motorbike, I would cry. So I think I would rather have the green and orange bike because it's probably more dependable. But it's very cool to watch an animated kid drive that red bike. I mean, that's me. That's me.
Since I have you guys here and we're talking about bikes and me not understanding this movie, Why did Canada just crash his friend's bike into the wall? Like, was it because he passed and nobody else should ride that bike? Is that like a bike gang thing? Because
that's what I got out of it.
He
was
grabs
just
it
like,
and he just speeds towards the wall.
Right.
And I was like, is he about to do something with powers? I don't remember this part. And he just lets it crash into the wall. But that was the bike that belonged to the friend that Tetsuo had just killed at the bar, right?
I'm guessing it was that.
Okay.
Man, I'm trying to remember if that was in the manga or not. I think it might have been.
That's a sweet bike. You shouldn't just. If anything, that I like that bike better than the one that Josh is talking about.
Oh no, you're wrong.
Like I think even
orange and green.
Josh, I'm gonna need a Josh bike ranking. This episode
tier list.
Yeah. Like, where does the Tron cycle fit in? Where's the Bat cycle?
We'll do that next week. Tier bike ranking. Mike, if you want to come back, bring your.
I mean, you give me a call.
Bike.
I'll be here.
Yeah, it's gonna. That's a tough list.
Even the guy whose bike, who was the owner of that green orange bike, like when he knew that it was kind of crappy. Like when they were taking it apart for the batteries.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, when Canada, and I'll let somebody else go in a second. When Canada shows up without his jacket, but he's got the gun strapped to him with the batteries on the sides.
Yeah.
And then
give me that action figure.
Give
me that action figure, please.
Why do we not? Yeah.
I think that's the same moment where Tetsuo's like in his chair and he's finally got the cape on and like his arms all messed up. Like just those designs. I think I remember I drew a Tetsuo in the chair a while back, just because it was such a cool visual from the manga. And I was like, oh, I want to try. I want to see how I can make this look. Not as good, but it was fun to draw. All right. Let's see who's next. That was my last point. So we'll go back to Mike for your last point, and then go around, and then we'll talk about any last bits that we left over.
Sure. So there's the thing in this movie that going in now, having read the manga, I understood so much more about the children, right? The like we get that flashback that is such an interesting insight into the whole story. And in the manga, you get so much more about them in general. And I this is not, I don't want to necessarily, everybody should go read the manga, because I don't know if it's going to be everybody's cup of tea. Quite honestly, it's pretty long. There's a lot more about like the why there's a rebellion group, why there's a lot more protests. There's a much deeper like story, like bigger story in general, because it's 6 volumes of manga, right? Like it's a lot of pages. I think if you're looking for just the plain action that you get out of the Akira movie, you're probably not going to find it in the manga. But there is a lot that I wish they could have had. There was more time to expand on, like why the children are the way they are, like why they were picked, like why Akira is so important to them. Because in the manga, Akira is not just like in test tubes. Akira is like alive for a chunk of the book. Wow. And he's hanging out with Tetsuo, Tetsuo is this little mini dictator. And he's like using Akira to be like, see, I've got Akira. Like, you guys all worship him. He works with me. He's my buddy. And Akira is kind of just like, I just want to be a kid. But I don't want to use these powers, but I will. It's very weird. It's like, again, it's very uncertain. There's like this constant suspense. And again, there's so much more you could go into in the manga. It's very interesting, but the kids are so interesting from like a story perspective. I wish we would have just gotten a little bit more about them instead of these like Lynchian esoteric moments with like the precog girl who's just like, and the world will die and no one will know why, and they're like, tell us why, and then she goes to sleep. It's like, what? I like all that. It's all fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get they only have so much time to put together. This is a 2 hour and some change, movie. So like, to add any more would have been pushing it, I think, too far. But
they run out of pencils, Mike.
Exactly. No more graphite to draw the pages. But there's a little bit more that I wanted out of them, but like, I get they can only go so far. Like, there's a whole sub-religion thing. Like, the Akira religion thing is like a huge line of the story in the manga, which is so
and there's like 2 scenes about it only. Like, when that priest comes up and then everybody falls on the bridge, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the manga, there's like a priestess who is one of the children. She has like similar powers to the children, and she like is in constant contact with the children, but she gets to live externally. and you're not really sure what her motivations are. Like, is she working for the government? Is she working against them? It's so good. Again, there's like so many more layers in the manga story. It's very cool. But yeah, the children I always find to be the most interesting in this story, because like there is this big question as to like why are they even exist? Why did Tetsuo interacting with this kid click off something inside of his brain to give him these powers? And it's fine that we don't get an answer, because quite honestly, not everything needs to be explained, but I just want more of that. Like, I really like the little lore behind those characters. It's so fun. So
you wanna before Akira style
no. I'd rather cut my eyeballs out, Danny.
Why didn't we get Jay Lee to draw one of them?
Yeah.
This
Hey,
sounds like
listen,
a before Watchmen deep cut.
Yeah, I hear the Before Watchmen Darwin Cook book was really good.
The thing is, this is why this movie for me will never be like a perfect 5 out of 5, because it is a great film. It is a masterpiece. It is unparalleled in what it tries to do. However, there are just like little bits and bobs where I just feel a little like uncertain about it. In the story and like in the uncertainness that I get out of the entirety of watching it, that like never allows me to really kick over to a 5-star or even a 4.5. I mean, maybe in a couple more watches that'll change, who knows, but still, and that's where I'm at. It's just like there are just a little piece, like a couple gaps that I wish were filled, and that would make it a perfect movie for me.
Yep. All right, Josh, you have one last, I mean, I don't know if we kind of cover that, but if you want to, you have it.
No, I do. It's not on there. Yeah, I do want to second Mike's point. I feel like every time I speak, I say that, but I did kind of feel like I like, to me, the big plot holes, and there's 2 of them. One major, one super persnickety, is the fact they never explain why that encounter between Tetsuo and the kid awakens this in him. And I kind of feel like that's a big missing piece of the plot. Like, I kind of agree they don't need to explain it. It just happens. But I also kind of feel like they did need to explain it. So I don't know. I'm so torn on that. Go ahead.
What I took from that, and I think one of the children mentions that everyone has the power of Akira in them.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I think when the trauma happens, especially with one of the kids who's already like on edge, like maybe he was letting out. So, and then they give him the pills or medicine or whatever to kind of like even amp that even more. So that's what I kind of got from like how it's probably a big leap on my part too. But like, I was like,
no, that makes sense. So, but then they still never explain, like, okay, so there's clearly a moment where someone is trying to help that kid get away.
Oh yeah.
And then suddenly he's just back with the others and they're all fine and they know each other. So I'm just like, what the hell was that? Right. So
yeah, I just came at it like I'm in res media, like I am dumped in the middle of it, like and it's my job to catch up. Yeah.
That's probably what Mike was talking about with some of the revolutionary stories, because it was one of the revolutionaries that was trying to get him out, because that's why the other 2 guys, the girl and which Canada was willing to go very far for a girl he had just met. Like,
oh my, yes.
Like, bro.
I mean, that's how the manga is. There's nothing deeper in the manga, I'll tell you that.
Especially because he was just hanging out with 3 other girls, which I was like,
I know. And one's like, I clearly likes him.
You can't just have every girl kind of chill out. I know your bike's cool and you're the leader of the gang, but relax.
And my super persnickety plot hole is, why the hell would they build an Olympic stadium on top of where this power is set? Like,
the justification though is because they needed a reason to have all of that power there. Right. So like, we need all of this power to keep the Akira thing. Well, what the Olympic Stadium is also going to be, and that's going to require a lot of power. That's the justification.
That makes sense. Okay.
I think that comes from the manga. I think you can kind of read that if you like in the movie. It's hard. It's not clear, but that's the justification.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's really funny how the Olympics come to play into this like whole thing. Like the world's in shambles and you're in like this post-apocalyptic era, but the Olympics are still happening next year or whatever or whenever.
No, but there are really cool like I feel like background moments. So for instance, at one moment on the wall surrounding it, you just see this graffiti says like "fuck off" or "fuck you" or something. So it's clear like the people are asking that exact same question. Like the world's in shambles. Why the hell are we hosting the Olympics? You know.
Well,
So,
we'll figure it out when LA has to do
In
it.
LA.
In 2 years. So.
yeah. Oh yeah. But truly my last point, and it's quite minor, but I loved it, is I love the entire homage, speaking of Disney, to Disney when they go to the baby room. And you get, for instance, you know, the girls in a Sleeping Beauty kind of like glass case. They even have there's a quick shot of what appears to be a sculpture of Sleeping Beauty. The whole like castle, like all that stuff I took as very clearly a riff off of Disney, which was quite fun. So
Interesting.
Speaking of homages, I wonder if it made me think the little chair that the Louis Anderson one had. I'm sorry, that's his name now. It made me think like, did Akira Toriyama see that and be like, oh, I'm gonna put Frieza on a chair like that?
Absolutely,
because that's how you meet him, right?
100%.
Interesting.
Because this is before, like this manga came out before Dragon Ball came out, so like, I mean, and even way before, like we went into Frieza and all that. So, all right. Jeff, do you have anything else? Because I do love deer. Yeah, look at I can see the dog, so like I know what's coming.
Yeah, my last point is, what is this movie? It's still confusing. I will say, while watching it, though, it's cool to see like how this movie has influenced. Like you could see like Chronicle. I feel like Chronicle pulled a lot from this. You know,
oh yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's, you know, and then Stranger Things, you know, all the kids in the thing with the powers and stuff like that.
Are you saying that Akira is to blame for the Fan Four Stick film?
Yeah, that's 100%. It is Akira's fault that Fan Four Stick happened. Okay. But that's how we got whatever Fantastic Four is coming out this year. So
finally,
it all comes back around. It all comes back around. It also has to. I was just thinking, as Mike was talking about, like going to Japan and stuff. I'm like, it's got to be when your whole culture is like, we've separated it. Like the history of Japan is like we were kept to ourselves forever. Then the West kind of came in, and then they dropped a giant bomb on us, and then you know we're kind of. So I feel like a lot of their
basically like 110.
And I think in this. And you see a lot of this kind of mistrust of the government. Like that came up in the Godzilla movie, Godzilla -1, when they felt like they were abandoned by their government to kind of get in good with the United States and stuff. So it's interesting to see. Yeah, and so it's interesting to see like how that kind of carries through all their media. And I think that's where a lot of this kind of like heavy post-apocalypse, like all this stuff coming out of Japan comes from, because that's an interesting history to have for that part of the world, you know.
Yeah, and especially that was somebody that, I mean, the author probably grew up around that era or like right after that, right?
Well, and that's something you got to think about, right? Like this manga comes out in 1982, and it is about the bomb, right? It's about World War II, and I remember reading an article at one point about how like Akira was so groundbreaking as a story because of how much it didn't shy away from talking about the devastation of World War II without adding any metaphor to it, right? Like the opening to this movie is a bomb going off in Tokyo, right? Yeah. And that is something that I feel like, and again, I could be completely wrong here, but I feel like I read this. That was basically like a no-no. Like you weren't allowed to like really blatantly talk about it, right? So the fact that Akira is in media, at least, right? Obviously it happened and you can't deny the fact that it happened, but like but in media it was like, well, if you're going to talk about it, you have to talk about it like Godzilla, right? Like just devastation and destruction comes through metaphor of another thing, whereas like Akira is like a fucking bomb goes off, a bomb goes off like in Tokyo, and like the people just have to deal with it and they have to live with it, and the government is trying to recoup after it, and the people don't trust them because they're like, well, you can't protect us from anything. What do we care what you have to say, you know? And again, Akira goes even further in that, you know, the government has no idea what they're actually doing, right? And they're trying to control power that they don't understand. And again, which is another metaphor for like the idea of people owning nuclear weapons in the first place, where like, do we really even understand the power that we have in our hands, and should anybody wield it? And the answer ultimately from this movie is no. So it's again, I think there's a big message there, and it's crazy that like 40 years after the bomb drops in Japan, like they're finally making the story, or there's a story like this. I'm sure there were others, but this one made it to the West that like is about the devastation of the destruction of these cities. So yeah, I don't know. I had a further point, but I lost it, so I'm sorry. I just got very excited about the Godzilla thing.
Well, I do love the fact that, and it stuck out at me that, again, going back to my earlier point about how kind of nuanced this story is in terms of like, there's no stark good or bad. By the end of the film, the general guy who has kind of led this revolt against the government, he's the one doing the right thing. And the real bad guy is the scientist who's like, oh, I kept it going because I just wanted to see what would happen. Right.
Yeah.
And you kind of realize, oh, there's it's not just a government like that is abusing this power. Even within it, there are people who are like, you're going too far, scientist dude. And you, government guy, are like trying to like contain it, So I don't know. I really liked how thoughtful that was.
Yeah.
So Jurassic Park also influenced by.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah.
So,
I imagine Michael Crichton sat down and watched Akira or read the Akira manga and said,
and he's like, but what about
dinosaurs?
Same thing.
Can you imagine Michael Crichton's Akira? I don't mean Jurassic Park. I mean Michael Crichton's Akira. So
that leads us to I do want to bring up a question that Clay dropped in the chat. But first, just some quick things. The director started working on this before the manga was completed, so that I think that's why there may be some stuff that was either left out or, I mean, kind of like, hey, look, if you watch Fullmetal Alchemist the first time around, the manga wasn't done, so it happens.
So also Game of Thrones was also influenced
Game of Thrones.
Right, famously.
The budget for this movie was 1.1 billion. What is it, yen? I think, yen.
Oh, okay.
Which is about $9 million, making it the most expensive anime film at the time.
Wow,
which is insane to think about, right? I do have two really funny reviews on Letterboxd that I was looking through yesterday. I want to check out. The first one is, well, how are they going to have the Olympics now?
I saw that too.
It's funny. In 2019, I was in Japan as they were prepping for the Olympics. It was very funny.
Really?
Like, I did not make the Akira connection at the time, but it is very funny that I was there. Like, and there was these big signs like in prep for it, like all over the place when we were walking through Tokyo. It's very funny.
You weren't looking over your shoulder to see like, oh, what was that noise? Or like, oh, here comes a tank.
I mean, there was an earthquake while I was there, but it wasn't anything that I kind of was worried about. So.
Like no tsunami or
small
anything?
No, it was like 2.4 or something, but like when you're on the 15th floor of an apartment building in your Airbnb and suddenly everything goes like it wiggles, like you get a little concerned.
Oh my god, yeah.
The other review says accidentally got way too stoned before turning this on and didn't have the mental faculties to read the subtitles, so I spent the entire movie just looking at this thing. Have you ever just looked at Akira? Holy shit.
That was the other thing that while watching this, I remember seeing, I guess it was last year sometime, it was like an Instagram reel or something, that somebody took a bunch of LSD and then went to go see 2001: A Space Odyssey, and then like freaked out in the theater, and they had to stop the movie and pull him out of the theater because he was having this bad reaction. Wow. But I was like, can you imagine watching Akira on something like in a theater?
The monkeys are trying to get me. They want to get me with their bone.
Would you watch Akira at that what is that place in Vegas? It's like the dome that's like surrounds you.
Yeah.
No, I do. Clay has so Clay says 2 stone is impossible, sourced by your own research. I just want to clarify, this person was only 2 stone to read.
Right. They're just thinking the visuals.
And then Clay brings up a good point in the chat, and he throws out a few suggestions. Maybe should there be a live action Akira?
Nope. Not even worth
Timothy
discussing.
Chalamet.
Nope.
Chalamet.
What about Michael Bay's Akira?
I will get off of this phone call right now.
What about Charlie Kaufman's Akira?
No.
Wes Anderson. That's what Clay suggested.
I would see Wes Anderson's Akira, but no. I have 4 words for why there should not be a live action Akira. Ghost in the Shell. The live action movie is not terrible, but it is a bit for bit remake of the anime, which is 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
So
I think the worst thing about doing and listen, when Taika Waititi was attached to doing an Akira live action, I was like,
what?
all right, I'll probably watch it. Yeah, that was a while back. It's fallen through now.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Granted, he was also going to do a Star Wars, and he's not doing that anymore. So these are
shame.
just things that happen. But
it would be like everything, everywhere, all at once, guys. Like those
no, that I would watch. Holy shit! Yeah,
I mean, we don't need to remake everything, honestly.
No, that's true. See, thank you. I totally agree with that comment. Yeah.
Hold on, let me fix this. All right, Josh, there you go. Now you can point the right hand. It's been bothering me the whole time. No, but the thing about live action remakes, and this is why they should stop, is because it's you're giving out a message that is like, oh, the animation's not as good. Like animation is not as important. It's not real until we make a live action, right? Where that's definitely not the case. I love animation, and you guys, I know you guys do as well. Although I could use with you guys watching more anime, Mike excluded. He watches plenty. I think, but at least he reads a lot of manga.
I read a lot of manga. Yeah.
So, I will. I mean, like to your point, Danny, I will flip this table if they announce a live action Spider-Verse, because again, the animation in that movie is fucking.
You know that's coming.
Well,
so
the thing is, there's no way to do that story justice without the amount of animation that was required to do it. Right, like.
Right.
You can't get the same feeling. Like you can't animate Spider-Man off frame. You can't get all of the like, I don't know. Marvel's portals look like shit, like in their live action movies. So like, how do you do that? Do all of the portal stuff? How do you? I don't know.
Give me a live action. Give me a live action Fantasia. Then we'll talk.
Well, see, and here's the thing: if they were to make a live action Akira, it's going to look like the Disney live action Lion King, which is 99.9% CGI and 0.1% live action, right? So,
yeah.
Well, I think
those are the ones that I have a real problem with. Like, How to Train Your Dragon looks cool, but I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah. How to Train Your Dragon makes no sense.
Well, hold on a second.
No, there's
Gerard Butler will be in that movie. So.
I don't care. Like his voice was already in the movie. I don't need to see his weirdo face. Like it's fine.
Hold on a second. Let's not get crazy, Mike.
Danny, you brought me on this show. This is all your fault.
Clay does have a fix. ScarJo will just play everyone in live action Akira.
Yikes.
I think when we do Ghost in the Shell, I'm gonna tell everyone that we're doing the live action except Josh. So he's gonna come in here talking about the anime.
You know what? So I've seen both. I don't mind the live action movie. I really don't. Even the weird backstory to explain why they have a Caucasian white woman playing a Japanese character.
That episode, I will actually just watch Ghost, the Patrick Swayze movie, and I'll be the one to really.
You're like, there's a lot of horny pop pro.
Guys, I love the Righteous Brothers. It's such a good song.
All right. Well, I think that does it for our Akira coverage.
Yeah.
This is the final word in Akira. I think we solved it. So we got a little bit of time left over. Let's talk about some of the stuff that we've been into this past week, and let's do comics first, in case we don't get to talk about some of the other stuff. Let me kick it off to Mike since he's the guest, I guess.
Sure. So I've been I was on the train back from the airport a week or so ago, and I was talking to some people on Discord, and I don't want to say bullied, but I definitely got pushed in the direction of getting a global comic subscription, if only because I'll be completely frank. Reading digital comic books right now is the biggest pain in the ass I have in my entire life. I refuse to buy from Amazon, right? And I refuse to use the Comixology app or the Kindle app. It's garbage. It's absolutely garbage. So I haven't been reading a lot outside of like the comps that I've gotten from Image and a couple of other publishers and stuff. And then books that I've gotten from other publishers that I've purchased independently. And so I was talking about this on the IRCB Discord, which I highly recommend everybody join. It's a really great place to talk about comic books. I don't know if we lost Danny, but regardless, I had to I was talking to somebody about like Something is Killing the Children because I wasn't really reading every single thing that James Tynion was publishing. And they were like, well, you really got to read Something is Killing the Children. And I've always been putting it off. And they said, well, Global Comics, you can get that. You can get a subscription. It's like $60 a year or something like that. And you can get a discount, blah, blah, blah. And you can get all of Something is Killing the Children. You can read all the volumes right now. And I was like, well, that's honestly worth it. Like it factors out the same way that Comixology Unlimited factored out, where like if you read one trade a month, it basically pays for itself. And I'm like, well, I can easily do that. So now here I am. I've read 3 volumes of Something is Killing the Children. Based on the title, you would think that I would know how dark it was. And then I read it and oh my God, is it a dark comic book? Holy smokes. Like they have like Something is Killing the Children. Something is Killing the Children every issue.
Yes,
and but it's good. It is good. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I think the first time out around I read the first volume or most of it. I was like not hooked in, but having 8 volumes ahead of me, I'm kind of here for the ride to see where it goes. It does kind of have the same problem that a lot of like, I don't know, older Image books did, where there's like, all right, here's the first arc or 2 or 3, and it turns out there's a huge world and blah blah blah, like this huge universe of stuff. But I'm here to see where James Tynion takes things, especially because this book is older than a lot of his other books. That I feel like now that he's like super redeveloped himself as a creator, it'll be interesting to see how his writing changes in this series as it goes on. So that's what I've been reading, and I've been watching Common Side Effects on Adult Swim. But we don't have to get into that because I'm only 1 episode in. But I recommend it. It's beautiful.
Three trades in that they haven't. He hasn't started the spinoff yet, has he? In that, like,
no, I think that starts at like volume 4 or 5 or something. Because like the first 3 volumes just covers the town that they're in, and then Erica leaves. And that's as much as I'll say. I don't know where the next story is because I haven't started volume 4 yet. But I think House of Slaughter starts around like volume 5, if I remember correctly.
Because I've read that whole up until about House of Slaughter I've read up until that. Okay. I feel like there's a bit of a dip in the writing just prior to House of Slaughter, but I think it's also because at the time Tynion's writing like 18 comics or something like that. Like he gets real prolific for a couple of years ago, where he's just like writing things right and left, and he does. And I remember talking about this on the podcast a while back, but I call it the Bendis effect, the Brian, where he's just like writing too many things at once, and it's just like I feel like these 24-page comics, like you're telling about 7 pages worth of story, and the rest is like filler because he's covering so many different comics at this time. And I feel like that's kind of calmed down now because I'm reading some Tynion again, and now I'm like, oh, this is like the Tynion that I remember.
I think he started bringing in like people to co-write or plot with, which is I think very smart. Or started kind of like I don't want to say
outsourcing. James Pattersoning.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, pretty much, right?
Here's the thing I'm doing, right? Like the Christopher Chaos. Here's an idea I have, and then like that's put out by a whole different creative team, right? Like Tate Bromble's writing it, and like
I was gonna say, Tate Bromble is the book is on his House of Slaughter too, right?
Like, which just wrapped up, I think, like this past week or this month, or maybe at the end of February. Like I think they just wrapped up the series. So, cool. Very cool, Mike. I do read a lot of Tynion. That's one of the things that I'm just there's so much that I'm like.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason why I wanted to read it, because it's really like the big gap that I have in my backlog of Tynion books. Right, is that series, and I like on the whole am not genuinely super excited for it. Right, but like it's fine. Like it reads well, especially on Global Comics, and like I said, now that I have the subscription, I kind of feel like it's a lot easier for me to dig into, because I was going to buy the trades, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to even like this series and yada, yada, yada. Couldn't get it from my library just because it kept being checked out. So I was like, Global Comics, easiest way for me to get access to it. It's a good read. It's a good digital read, in my opinion.
It's Global Comics. Like, can you look at the whole backlog of whatever they have? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, it's like you get access to a ton of different books that they have. And I don't think it rotates out. It's not like Comixology Unlimited, as far as I know. But yeah, it's a huge, like, again, I can read all 8 volumes of, like, Boom Studios puts a ton of their stuff on there, and that's where, who publishes Something is Killing the Children. It's like all 8 volumes are on there. So I'm like, easy sell for me. But I think there's a delay of some kind, but I don't know what it is, and that's fine. For binging, that's all I want it for.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, makes sense. All right, let me jump in here. I read a bunch of stuff this week. One thing I don't have physically because I read it through Hoopla. Daredevil Volume 1, Hell Breaks Loose. This is the Saladin Ahmed volume where he kind of takes over the series. Jeff had previously talked about it in the show, and I was like, well, I want to read some Daredevil, but because the show's coming out. And I had just read Born Again very recently, so I was like, I don't want to get into that again. Let me catch up on this, and I liked it. Matt is literally like his world has been reset since the Zdarsky run ended, and it's a very interesting setup where he's kind of like this priest who lost his memories, but then obviously like the title it says Hell Breaks Loose, and just like a bunch of demons, and I won't get too deep into what they are, but they start coming after him. So he's got to deal with that, and he's got to deal with like his personal responsibility. So it's pretty interesting. Daughter, is it Russell Dauterman that does? No, who's the
Aaron
artist?
Cooter.
Aaron Cooter does most of the artwork. Yeah, it's great. There are a few rotating artists that kind of come in and out for specific things, but it's mainly Aaron Cooter, and him and Saladin Ahmed are doing a really good job. I got volume 2 because the first story doesn't end in volume 1, so like I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And then from what Jeff mentioned when we're talking on our Discord, which you can't join, go read the I Read Comic Books one. This one's closed. Cool kids only. I think the story is still kind of ongoing for that, so I'm excited to see how he makes this last so long, because it feels like from the first few issues, it feels like this should be wrapped up in like 8 or 9 issues. So we'll see. And then some quick things throughout the week. We have some reviews on the channel, but I do want to shout out Doctor Strange of Asgard. He lost his job on Earth, so maybe he's now looking somewhere else.
Will magic for food.
That's right. He's networking. He's got to reach out to his buddy Thor.
A lot of people getting laid off these days.
Web of Spider-Verse, New Blood, which is really cool because next week or in the next few weeks we'll get the Venomverse. What is it called? Fresh Brains, and these books are a prelude to the upcoming Spider-Verse versus Venomverse clash that's imminent in the Marvel universe. So really, really fun stuff.
Sorry, hang on.
I don't have an answer for that.
No, here's my thing. All right. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. That was my jam growing up. How the fuck is Marvel making all these Spider-Man books that I have zero interest in reading? Zero interest.
Don't know.
Same.
All right, great. Thanks, Jeff. It's not just me.
I've one Spider-Man book, and it's the ultimate one.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think there must be a demographic of comic book readers who include Danny and
Right.
some other people who really
3 other
find these
people.
books to here's the thing. They wouldn't keep publishing verse books like Spider-Verse, Venomverse, Edge of Spider-Verse, blah blah. Like if there wasn't an audience. Like Marvel is
true.
pretty cutthroat about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to imagine that there's a huge plethora of readers out there who are probably buying 10 to 20K of these books, overall. Because like if you think about it, that's like a realistic number for comics is like 10 to 20K is like a successful book.
Right.
That are buying these things. So I don't know. Like
It's all the fan fiction people that were writing their own Spider fan fiction. They now have it in the comics.
I mean, I'd love to talk to these people. I have to imagine that they're probably Danny, you are a very pleasant person. I have to imagine the other people reading these books are not pleasant people to talk to about comics. So I'd be very curious to hear from these people because I don't know, like these things they don't entice me. They don't sound interesting. It just feels like smashing toys together, and maybe that's all that people want. They just want to be able to smash the toys together, and it's just maybe just not for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you are a reader of these and you do really enjoy them, please email me at ircbpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
And back his Kickstarter.
Don't email me at all because I don't want to know. I just don't.
I'll give you guys the cliff
You
notes
live
if I can.
happy in your world, and I'll live happy in mine.
Yeah.
We'll keep the verses separate. All right. The
Right.
Jeff verse will
Yeah.
not collide
The
with
Jeff
other.
verse will never cross over.
Also, speaking of smashing toys together, we got a new Star Wars book, Jedi Knights. This takes place before they kill all the Jedi, so you get to see all of them. Like Yoda's in here, Master Windu.
Order
This
65.
one deals with Qui-Gon Jinn. Somebody sent out an assassin after him, and he's one of my favorite Jedi. So of course I had to check it out. And this might be my favorite. Oh, where's Secret Six? I also read that. But probably my favorite thing I read this week. Here's Secret Six. Very cool cover.
That's cool.
This is really fun. But my favorite thing I read this week, I think, Mothra, Queen of Monsters. This is done by it's so
Is it
cool.
good?
Written by
I've seen
Sophie Campbell with Matt Frank and Sophie Campbell on art. I wanted to check this out because Sophie's going to be doing the Supergirl book in the summer for DC, and I was like, well, let me see what this team can do, and it's really cool because Mothra is dead in this world, and these two sisters have to time travel to the prehistoric age to get a Mothra egg and bring it back to the present. So there you go.
That's a cool
I'll leave you with
concept. I
that.
like it.
Yeah, my man. That sounds great.
And some stuff I didn't read, but I just want to show you guys because Marvel's taking all my money. Peach Book was doing a bunch of variant covers, so I picked up Storm,
That's a beautiful cover.
NYX,
Nice.
Uncanny X-Men,
Oh man.
Good covers,
Yeah.
man.
Moon Knight, and Peach Momoko. And outside in the box that I just got is my One Piece Peach Momoko art card for the One Piece TCG.
Yo.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about this. This is also really good. The Ultimates is fantastic. This one, the Cap gets to punch a bunch of Nazis, so like that was fun.
I need that as a palate cleanser. All right, I'll pick that up.
Well,
So,
we
there you
just for IRCB, I just recorded an episode last night. So spoilers if you also pay attention to the IRCB feed. We just read Captain America: The Mad Bomb Saga. If you want to see Captain America just kicking the shit out of people trying to overthrow the United States government, highly recommend that. It's great.
I'm in. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. All right. Jeff, what did you read this week?
I haven't had a chance to read a lot of stuff. Some of it is catch up from the shipping delays, but I did read Fantastic Four. What is this? 29.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's a good issue. Again, you get a lot of vibes of what's going on with the current world we live in this book. They deal with a lot
Especially
of that
like
kind of
those
stuff.
last few pages. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I can't
But,
wait.
yeah,
It's funny. I read it last week, and I was like, "Oh, man, Josh isn't on the show. He's the one that really like stays up to date with this book." But maybe next week, Josh will catch up.
Yeah,
Josh needs to catch up.
Way behind.
Yeah,
All right.
Our boy Ryan North is like all over Marvel Comics now, and
right.
Josh is failing him. Ultimate Spider-Man 10-14, whatever this is. Great
10-4.
issue. 10-4. Yeah, I love it. I love the conversation between Spider-Man's kid and the Black Cat that happens in this issue, where he's just like, I'm a kid, leave me. They start a fight, and then they both find out that they're both teenager kids, and they just have a conversation.
I know. I thought they were gonna try to do like a love interest thing with Peter, but I was like, no, like he's happily married. So this makes sense that they would bring in a love interest for his kid, who's a teenager. I love it. Oh, Jonathan Hickman, you're a genius. Genius.
I also like it when people know how to write kids, like, because kids like nowadays are different. Like they don't have those kind of qualms of like the kid just like straight up is just like, I'm done having this argument. This is what I look like. I'm obviously not the person you're looking for. And I'm like, that makes sense to me as a kid. Like a kid would do that nowadays. Yeah. But sometimes you'll see like these writers that are like, they have no idea how to write kids because they don't have that in them. And I'm just like, oh, please don't have this person write children, because
I mean, I think writing kids these days is easy. They got their skibbity toilets, they got their vibes. Like that's all.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's all there is.
They care about more than skibbity toilet. Okay.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I have no idea.
It's Phantom Tax that they really care about. Birds of Prey 19. Love this book. That's Kelly Thompson, can't do any wrong.
Oh yeah.
I caught up on Ninja Turtles number 7. Man, Juan Ferreira's artwork is so great. It reminds me a little of Simon Beasley, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, a little bit.
Great stuff.
Mike, you should read that book because the Turtles had to relocate to New Jersey.
That's right. They're in New Jersey now.
A
I
comic
believe
book
New
I can
York.
understand.
And the best part is that they hate it.
I would expect people who grew up and lived in New York to hate New Jersey. That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Next issue, they have to go deep dive into Springsteen's catalog. So that's what they're doing. I haven't had a chance to read any of this stuff. This is, I think, last week's X-Men. I got stuck with this variant cover.
Jeff not being caught up on the X-Men hunt. What's wrong with you, Jeff?
X-Men hunt. I'm only going to read the issues of the things that I'm picking up. So this is going to be one of those crossover events where I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
It's going to be wild because they are supposed to be a continuous story. I'm making a video about it. And I'm like, how? Like, how? Just wait till the trade's out. Skip all those issues.
I mean,
wait till the trade's out.
I don't care about half of these comics in the thing. In fact, somebody asked me on my TikTok how I felt about Post Krakoa and X-Men, and I've not responded yet because I've been thinking about it for days now. Trying not to like get too much on my soapbox, because how do you put that toothpaste back in the bottle? You do it in a terrible way, is how Marvel is doing it.
Are you, as the kids say, in your feels about it?
I try not to think about it. I just kind of like, I'm going to be along for the ride, but I've already dropped a couple of X-Men books.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I think on the RTV Discord, we were talking about like how a lot of people are just dropping X-Men books.
Here's the thing: if you never picked any of them up, you've got none to drop.
That's true.
There you go.
I do genuinely really enjoy Exceptional X-Men. Eve L. Ewing is my favorite. It's a great comic all around. It's a great X-Men comic. It's not a superhero comic, but it's like
which one
definitely.
Is Gail Simone on? Is it Uncanny?
She's on Uncanny.
That's really good.
Uncanny.
That's pretty good too.
Uncanny reminds me a lot of like Chris Claremont X-Men, because it's a lot of like interpersonal stuff. They're not in the mansion doesn't exist anymore really, but they're in Louisiana, so it kind of reminds me of like those happy times in the X-Men where Claremont was writing, but they were still in the school, and it was just like a lot of like interpersonal drama stuff, a little superheroics, but mostly like them just like trying to live their life, and a little bit of the Australia stuff where they're kind of out on their own. Again, just trying to live their life, get through it. So that's what this kind of reminds me of. It's just there's so many characters that Gail has a hard time, like, we're going to focus in on these people now, and we have to focus in on these people. The Jed McKay one is just like all gas, no brakes, and I'm bored with it.
Dude, that one, I love Jed McKay, and I love like all his other books that he's been doing, but this one you really had to be like in the mindset of it. And then you have Ryan Stegman on art, so it's like you're just fully going on this one. Well, Ryan Stegman sometimes on art, because I think it's double shipping the book or something. It's maybe every 3 weeks. I don't know. It's got a very weird release schedule.
Yeah, this one is Neto Diaz, but I will point out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Danny. Well, I'll look for this.
I mean, well, to your point, I think what you're gonna say is that they pick artists that are very similar to Stegman's style. Look at that.
This looks like Joe Quesada, which I think is awesome. This drawing right here.
That is very cute.
But that's Neto Diaz.
But that X-Men is like, you missed the old 90s X-Men. Here you go. Gobble it up. I picked up this. I'm already Tin Can Society. I think this is 6 of 9. This is a great. It's almost.
comic.
I can't wait till it's done so I can just.
Dude, I'm so excited to reread it. It's so freaking good. Oh my god. Okay, never mind. Let's get the best book on the stands right now.
I know. I need to. I read the first issue. I gotta catch up. FML's great.
Yeah. FML's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. I love the little zine stuff that she puts at the back of every comic.
And again,
Kelly said, "Let me come back to comics hard."
Speaking of books that feel way too much like real life.
Holy shit.
Yeah. This is so great.
If the husband of the person in that book starts writing a comic at DC, then we know.
Things have been cooking up. Cool Kingdom, I've not had a chance to read yet, but I love the dinosaur on the cover.
It was on my pull list this week too.
the latest issue of Hello Darkness, Don't Go See That Dentist, and then Huge Detective.
All right, I read the first issue of that, and I kind of bounced off it. How's it going?
It's okay. I like the it's one of those, like, they built this whole world, and you need a couple of issues to kind of live in it before you're like, okay, I feel what's going on. I picked up the first issue a long time ago, read it, and was like, maybe I was going to trade weight on it, knowing, but then I was like, I'll never read this in trade if I just don't go and pick it up individually. And the guy, Adam Rose, like, we follow each other on TikTok, and so he's always like, have you read this issue? And I was like, I will one day. And so finally, they were all like, I had 3 or 4 issues there, so I was just like, I'll pick them up. And then as I read them all together, then I was like, oh, this is definitely a trade.
Okay, I'll probably wait for a trade then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. And that's it.
That's it. Do you want me to go through mine real quick, Danny? I don't have much.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm way behind. I haven't gone to the shop recently, so these are all from a few weeks ago, but still reading Conan. I love G.I. Joe. Anyone else reading Howl? This is great. I love this. It's by the same team that did Guilt. Anyway, Habitats from the Abyss, of course. I picked this up, which, as I'm saying this now, I realize I waited till you were on, Mike. Jersey Devil.
Hey, what's up?
Comic. This is a true weird story by James Patinian.
Yeah.
E. Fox. So anyway, but the thing I have been reading, I'm not done yet. I'm halfway through, but I pre-ordered this, is the new Jaime Hernandez life drawing. Holy, I mean, there's never been a bad Jaime Hernandez Love and Rockets book, but this one is just phenomenal. It's really good.
Yeah.
So anyway, really enjoying this. I'm about halfway through because I pre-ordered it, and it's probably terrible. I'm using this as a bookmark, but it came with a little signed card.
Oh yeah. I do that exact same thing every time I buy something from Fantagraphics. I'm just like, I know that this person drew on this card or wrote on this thing, but it's gonna be the bookmark for the book.
It's gonna be the bookmark. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, really good. The problem I have with, like, I want everybody in the world to go read the Hernandez brothers. I'm more fond of Jaime than I am of Beto. That's just me. But the problem is, like, if you've never read it, and I tried this once in the book club, right? We read one of the volumes. And the problem is, if you've never read it, there's not a good jumping on point. But then if you try to start from the beginning, the first, like, kind of storyline is so weird and out of place. You kind of have to, like, struggle through it to get to the point where it really kicks in a high gear and it becomes Jaime Hernandez's Maggie and Hopi story, right? So anyway, I don't know. It's kind of book I can't just hand to someone and go, like, read this, you'll love it, because there's so much background and context you need. So
right.
There's a I have to find it and I'll put it in Discord. There's like an old PBS, like, just tiny little documentary on both of them.
Yes.
And I'd be, if I were ever interested, because I have like the 50-year box set of Love and Rockets, the big old thing, and I've been trying to make my way through it, but it's like, it's it's big, it's thick, it's whatever. But I would like watching that makes me want to read the thing, because I'm just like, oh, it's a more of a, I don't know, it's an intellectual, almost studying comics kind of thing.
It is. But I mean, but you do have them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say I ended up with all of kind of everything up until they brought it back in the 2010s in PDF from, like, a Humble Bundle. So if anyone wants to read it,
I mean, the thing is, like, if you have access to a good, like, a library, a lot of library systems carry a lot of the Love and Rockets books. Like, because like Fantagraphics at one point did, like, a big reprint of, like, all the major, like, Jaime and Beto stories, and, like, they put them in these different collections and stuff. Yeah. I was just saying, I'm sure you guys have them. Those
I need to bring in Paul.
Yeah, mass available.
Hang out with these guys. Yeah.
Those reprints that they did, I think I've seen them at tons in libraries. Again, I know that varies from county to county and state to state and stuff, but still, I would highly recommend looking through your library, because they're great tomes to just hold on to. Like, the art's beautiful to look at. Like, It's fantastic. Not to say you shouldn't read them digitally, but like,
this is
oh, hell yeah, dude.
So jealous.
That's
Holy
so good.
crap, that's beautiful.
And the problem is like once I push them in all the way, they're really hard to get out. So I always have to keep the one I'm working on just like a little bit askew.
Gravity board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. They are like, I bought those and I will never get rid of them. I'll probably pass them on to my kid, but other than that, so.
She comics, ew.
Oh no, she loves comics. She's currently blowing through features. So.
I guess now she's at that age where it's okay to read Garth Ennis.
Yeah, I can really kind of hand her anything, so that's good.
All right. I forgot to show you guys these. I just picked up some cool reprints for Facsimile, the first Fantastic Four, and the Daredevil one.
I'm gonna get that.
And I also picked up this week, which I forgot because it was over here, the collection for the Helena Windhorn.
I need to get that.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's very cool. Very, very cool. Really nice. Like Dark Horse knows what they're doing when they put their collections together. So
they do.
Oh, yeah.
Did you read it in issue to issue, or have you not read? Did you?
I read.
I
already read. No, I read all of it. I read issue to issue because I did videos for like the first 3 or 4, and then I was like, I'm just gonna wait, and I just did a video for like the whole thing. So
okay.
Yeah, it was very cool. All right, so we had a thing for the end, but the internet has taken it down. So we're not gonna be able to watch the Powerpuff trailer.
I should have downloaded it.
Yeah, and now I don't I wasn't looking for it, but I was like, now I don't want to show it because I don't want this stream to go down or like whatever.
Yeah.
So go watch find the Powerpuff trailers for the CW on your own. So before we leave though, because we are about to wrap up, Mike, please tell everyone where you can find not only yourself but also the Kickstarter.
Yeah. So you folks can find me on the internet at Mike Rapin. On Instagram, on Blue Sky, I'm at MikeRapin.com because I did the cool domain thing. You can also find I Read Comic Books at ircbpodcast.com on Blue Sky. You can find us at IRCB Podcast on most internet platforms. YouTube, I managed to get the short URL at IRCB, so youtube.com/@IRCB will get you to our YouTube channel. And you can find the IRCB zine, Totally Not a Cult, an anthology art zine curated by IRCB at ircb.fyi/zine. That'll take you right there, and you can go back and you can get some wonderful art from 21 different artists, 25 pages. It's fantastic. Yeah, and I think that's it. We aren't active really anywhere else. We dropped off TikTok, just YouTube and Instagram nowadays, and Blue Sky. So that's it.
Yeah, and link for the Kickstarter is already in the video, and then I'll add all of Mike's stuff after the show.
Thanks,
so,
Danny.
all right. You guys have anything else? Because I think we're about to wrap up.
Nope,
we're good.
good.
Excellent. We'll go back to Kickstarter, go watch Akira, and thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah,
bye everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Most important thing in life will always be
El Bebo.
Simon Sinner, get the fuck out.